Oh, so embarrassing. That whole summer I must have been in some kind of daze because, like, how many stupid things did I do in this one summer? Oh my god. Ugh. I don't want to relive this, but I think it might be cathartic to share it with you guys, so here we go. Hola a todos! Congratulations on finding me. I've been hiding in YouTube and I've been doing a pretty good job of it, but you solved the mystery and you found me. Why don't you go ahead and subscribe to celebrate? Woo! This channel, The Americanas Maneras, is dedicated to talking about life in Spain, life in Andalusia, southern Spain, cultural differences between the US and Spain, and kind of whatever else I feel like making videos about. And I'm Samantha, tu amiga americana en Sevilla. Today's video is in English, así que si quieres seguirlo en español, dale al botón de subtítulos para leer el video. O si te apetece más ver un video en español, puedes seguir esta tarjeta y ver un video súper delicioso en español sobre el desayuno andaluz. Sometimes, guys, I make mistakes. And when you move to a new country, especially a country that has a different language from your mother tongue, your mistake to normal behavior ratio goes way down. So basically, every other interaction that you have has the potential to be some type of cultural or linguistic mistake. Today I'm talking about 3 times that I messed up here in Spain. I'm gonna relive the pain, relive the drama, relive the embarrassment, all for your enjoyment. And hopefully so that you can learn the lessons that I learned by making these mistakes. All 3 of these experiences happened the first year that I was living here in Seville. We'll start off with an easy one. This is just an example of the many linguistic mistakes that I have consciously and unconsciously made on my Spanish learning journey. So I decided to spend the summer after my 2 semesters abroad here in Spain, like continue on the year and finish the summer before I went back to Texas to do my last semester at college. And I was doing my normal grocery shopping at the Supersol in the Alameda, which is still there. This is a mistake that I hope I'm not the only one to have made. I was in the supermarket checking out. There was a lot of people behind me. Normal day. Here in the Spanish supermarkets, and I think in many other European countries, when you're at the store, the grocery store, you can either bring your own bag to carry your groceries, or you can buy like heavy duty, really sturdy plastic bags, as many as you want. They're like 5 or 10 cents a piece. There's no ban, but you have to pay for them, and they're not the flimsy little ones that we get in the US. Anyway, so I'm waiting in line and I asked for a bag to put my groceries in, but I didn't realize that the word for bag, a plastic bag in Spanish, is bolsa or bolsita, and instead I asked for a bolso with the O on the end, which means handbag or purse. So here I am. I'm asking the cashier,
"Can I have a handbag, please? Or a purse, please?"
She's like looking around to see if maybe I had like left my bag with her, because they also have lockers where you can put your bag in, and if you don't have change, well, sometimes you just ask the cashier if you can leave it with them. So she's like looking to see if I left my handbag. And I'm like,
"What are you doing? Like, I asked for un bolso. Where's my plastic bag?"
When she finally realized that basically I just didn't know how to speak Spanish, I also realized that I had said the wrong word, and that instead of asking for a bolsa, I asked for a handbag. But the cashier was really nice about it, thankfully, and she subscribed to my YouTube channel, which you can do too. Just click on the subscribe button below. It made me feel a lot better. And she also followed me on Instagram just to make sure that I didn't make any more mistakes from there on out. And you can also do that too if you want. And she also corrected me very politely. Sometimes it just takes a little public humiliation to really make the lesson stick, because I had never made that mistake again. So, lesson learned. Una bolsa, por favor. Ponme una bolsita, por favor. So that first mistake was your run-of-the-mill language error. Happens to all of us. Happens all the time. No big deal. But this next story, ain't none of y'all got a story like this. I mean, if you do, let me know in the comments. Maybe you do. Okay, so growing up in Texas, you don't have a lot of experience with public transportation. Even if you grow up in a city in Texas, even if you grow up in New York City or Chicago, the Spanish public transportation system is leaps and bounds beyond the American public transportation system. in the sense that you can travel throughout the country, not just within one city, but between a city and the surrounding area, and from one city to another, and from one province to another, by train, by bus, or even by plane. For some reason, they have like a ton of airports here. I don't know why. Anyway, it's super, super easy. So in the same summer as the Bolsa incident, I was tasked with house sitting and babysitting for my university program director while she was away on a trip for a week. She lives in a town outside the city, and I, student without a car, obviously chose like the €1, €2 bus fare out to her village the afternoon that I was supposed to start the job. Easy. You just get on the bus and it takes you there and you get off. Right? Now, there are various interurban routes that change stops depending on the day of the week, the time of the day, even the season of the year, if it's summer or if it's, regular season. And I knew this. And I did my research before I decided to go out to the town to start house sitting for her. So I got on the bus at Plaza de Armas, looked at the number, the bus name or whatever, destination Camas, all good, right? Get on. But bear in mind that I am wholly unfamiliar with the Aljarafe area, the area where her town is. I don't have a smartphone. I didn't have any notes with me, like what stop to get off at. I don't know if I thought the bus driver was just gonna stand up at every possible stop and announce like, hey, anybody want to get off here? No, I'll keep going, because they don't do that. And he didn't do that. So I don't know what I was thinking, but as the bus, went further into Aljarafe, into the towns that surround Seville, the crowd thinned out on the bus until finally I was the last person left on the bus. And when the driver noticed me and shook his head like this, I realized that I had made a grave mistake. He just looked at me with this face, like, what are you doing? And he pulled the bus into this bus barn because apparently his route was ending. This bus wasn't going to turn back around and go to Seville. And I had missed the stop. And I couldn't get back on this bus, or I couldn't wait for the bus to turn around and just get off at the right stop on the way back. His shift was ending. The bus was being turned in for the afternoon. So he parks the bus in the bus barn, and he proceeds to explain to me what has happened. Apparently, I was on the direct route, which doesn't go through each town in Aljarafe and stop at 3 or 4 bus stops in the town and go on to the next one. It just goes on the main highway past the towns and stops on 1 or 2 stops at the edge of town. So I guess what I was expecting was to go into the town and see welcome to Valencina, and know that, okay, I can get one of these stops and it'll be fine. But since I didn't see that, and I just thought we had never gotten to Valencina, I never got off the bus. And so, the poor dude, in an act of pity, he was like, look, hey, I live in Valencina. I'm finished. My route's ended. My shift has ended. I'm going home. Do you want me to give you a ride? And I was like, please. And so on the ride, he taught me lesson number 2, which is always ask the bus driver if you don't know which stop you're supposed to get off at, or if you don't know if the bus route goes to the stop you're trying to get to, the place you're trying to get to, especially if it's an unfamiliar route. So, useful lesson, embarrassing situation, nice friendly people helped me out of a jam. Thank you, bus driver. Thinking back on the bus one, that's kind of funny. Oh my god. Oh, what he must have thought of me. Wow. But this last one is really, I've been practicing my monologue, and it's just every time, this third one really gets me right here. Oh, so embarrassing. Public humiliation level, 100. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the last one has to do with bicycles. Seville is no Amsterdam, but Seville is a very flat city, as I've mentioned in various other videos, and it's got one of the largest, if not the largest, urban bike path networks in Europe. Pretty well maintained. I don't know, you guys can argue about that. I'm not an avid bike rider, so I can't really speak to that. But I do have a mountain bike, which is necessary if you're going to ride on cobblestones. which you can see in this video about the downside of moving abroad and living in Spain. But back in the day, the same fateful summer, I used the bike sharing service Civici. Once again, not sponsored. The Civici has nothing to do with the story, but I just am telling you facts about Seville. The thing about bikes, Civici or otherwise, is that they are considered vehicles, which means they have certain laws that they have to follow. Like, really, you should circulate on the road and not on a sidewalk. Or you can obviously ride on the bike paths. You should not ride your bike across the pedestrian crossings because you're not a pedestrian. And also, there are some streets that are for pedestrian use only. Vehicles are not allowed, but if you're on a bike, you are allowed to ride your bike down those streets from the evening to the early morning when it's not too crowded. The rest of the day, there are signs telling you to get off your bike when you get to these streets, walk it to the end of the street until you get to a proper street where you can hop on and ride again. Okay, I know this now, but I had to learn the humiliating way. One day, this summer of misery, I was riding my bike, my Civici bike, and I had to go somewhere. I don't know. But the thing is, I had to ride down one of these pedestrian-only streets. Calle Sierpes. I got to Calle Sierpes, and not only did I not see the sign telling me to get off and walk my bike, because it was like midday, but I also just didn't use common sense, and I didn't see like, oh, there's a lot of people, maybe you should walk your bike. So I proceed on my bike to go from Plaza San Francisco to the Campana on down Calle Sierpes. And just as I ride into the street, oh my god, my handlebar latches onto the purse strap of like a middle-aged woman. And so, like, she gets tugged forward, causing me to stop so that I can unlatch my bag and see if she's okay and, like, melt into the floor because I'm so embarrassed. She is so angry. She's livid. She's so angry. And I'm just like,
I don't know what to do. I'm like, baby, don't. Like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
And I apologized and stuff. And she was, you know, obviously can tell what level my Spanish was at this point because I didn't understand what she was saying and what she was yelling at me about. And so I have no recollection of what she was actually saying to me. Maybe it's a good thing that I couldn't understand what she was saying. Anyway, I apologized various times, and then there was like, it got to the point where there's like nothing more I can do because like she was fine. She was just angry and, you know, probably startled, obviously. But I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna go because you're fine. You know, I'm not gonna stick around and just get yelled at, sorry. So then I did what I think probably sent her over the edge because after having latched on to her handbag and, like, sent her stumbling, riding my bike, I decided to get back on my bike and try to ride down the street again, like, because I wanted to escape the situation as fast as possible. But obviously, the whole problem in the first place was me riding my bike down that street, and I think seeing me get back on my bike just sent her, like, over the edge, because I get on my bike to ride away, and she grabs my ponytail. She grabbed my ponytail and tried to, like, make me stop so that she could yell at me again. Oh my god, like, I can still feel it, and I feel the shame right now because she must have been like, what? Like, are you, like,
do you have a brain? Like, did you not just see that you knocked me down because you're on your bike and you're getting back on your bike again? Like, what is wrong with you, girl?
And I'm sure that's what she was saying. Again, I don't know. I don't know what she was saying, but she proceeded to yell at me a little bit more. Finally, I got back on my bike and I rode away, and I just didn't even realize that was the problem. Oh my god, like, what was wrong with me? Because now I totally understand why she was angry, and I probably would do the same thing to some, like, stupid girl riding her bike, knocking people over, and continuing riding her bike, you know? As I totally empathize with Handbag Lady. Oh my gosh. I'm glad that I shared this with you guys and, like, got it off my chest because I, like, have to live with this shame, like, bottled up, and now everybody knows about it. So, lesson learned, if there's a crowd, get off your damn bike and walk your bike because you, trust me, like, you don't want to get your ponytail pulled in the middle of a crowded street and have everybody looking at you. Not only that, because also you don't want to hurt anybody by riding a bike down a crowded street. But then for self-preservation, you don't want the ponytail experience either. I hope y'all learned from my mistakes. Please subscribe and like the video. Please subscribe because I have 66 subscribers now. About 80% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So if like 5 of y'all can subscribe, I'd be happy. And let me know in the comments about your most embarrassing moment as an expat, please, and make me feel like I'm not alone. Thanks for watching the video. Gracias por ver este video. Un besito. Hasta luego.